Comfortably Smug of Ruthless, such a great guy. He tweeted the following, and he's not wrong. Hunter Biden is the Joe Rogan of the left. I wonder if they will realize it. Put Hunter in front of a mic. That's how you save the Democrat Party.
Kind of true.
He's joking, but he was highly entertaining. I mean, a little misguided on pointing the finger at others, many others for doing things that he himself has done exactly and times 10. But fine, it was very entertaining to see him break out the machine gun, the rhetorical machine gun, and go after every prominent Democrat who's been in the news lately. Maybe we have that SOT. Let's see. I don't know. SOT 12. Let's start with SOT 12.
Fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck him and everybody around him. I don't have to be fucking nice. Number
Trump,
one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. Fucking George Clooney is not a fucking actor.
Sorry, Clooney.
He is a fucking, I don't know what he is. He's a brand. Fuck you. What do you have to do with fucking anything? Why do I have to fucking listen to you? Me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 fucking years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of fucking David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior fucking speechwriters on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40, $50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever run. What influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on the Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to shit after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab.
You feel like you might like him if you had dinner with him. You know, I like maybe just a drink, like a short. Well, maybe he can't. Maybe if he did his crack, and you had your non-tequila drink, you could have an interesting conversation for 10 minutes. He's not wrong about anything he said there.
No, this is the thing. Like, there's something very serious in what Smug said, because right now, Jamie Harrison, former head of the DNC, his first guest on his new podcast was Hunter Biden, but it was a much different conversation than Hunter had with Callahan. And in this conversation, what you see is a man who he's completely wrong to frame himself as a victim of the political establishment. Like, that is absolutely laughable. It is true that Jake Tapper and others in the political establishment decided to aim their fire at Hunter Biden as soon as it was clear the Biden family was no longer going to be in a position of power. So yes, it's true that there was this big book by a major CNN anchor that was going after the family. Of course, it only happened after they were out of power. But what Hunter Biden is doing there is attacking the Democratic establishment. He is actually believably, even though he's wrong about like 90% of the stuff that just came out of his mouth, he's believable in his sentiments, and he comes across as like authentically angry. And by the way, he was spitting some facts about the Pod Save bros. Like he was cooking. Those guys do live in their like Hollywood mansions and then tell the Democratic Party what it needs to do to regain the trust of voters based on their experience in Washington 10 plus years ago at this point. So he's not entirely wrong about that, but I think what the kernel of truth, I should say, in Smug's point, is that what Jamie Harrison is never, ever, ever going to do is sincerely attack the political establishment. And that's why people like Joe Rogan, period.
Mm-hmm. God, that's so right. That's so right. So by the way, this other guy, Jamie, needs to understand that the first rule of news is when you make news, put out the news. Don't sit on the news. Don't wait months to release the news. You will get scooped on the news. So there is your news lesson of the day from a news person, Jamie. He had Hunter Biden long before this YouTuber Callahan had him, and he didn't put out the news, and the news was very interesting. It was Hunter Biden trying to tell us what actually happened between George Clooney and Joe Biden at that LA fundraiser. And it's a very different story than the one George Clooney and Jake Tapper have been telling us. Here it is.
George Clooney, before that event, and it literally threatened to pull out of the event. How many times? 5, 6 times over and over again, saying that he was so upset because my dad refused to recognize the arrest warrant for Netanyahu and would not commit to not allowing Netanyahu to enter the country after the ICC warrant went out for his arrest. And the reason is that George Clooney, right? As if we were supposed to know this, is because his wife was one of the principal architects of that warrant. Anytime they're doing these pictures, as you know, there's somebody standing next to the president.
Mr. President.
That says, Mr. President.
Jamie Harrison, chair of
George Clooney.
Yeah. Right.
Not because my dad didn't know who George Clooney, because I was literally whispering. Literally, I was whispering in his ear saying, Dad, fuck him. And he claims, in his arrogance, that my dad, the president of the United States, didn't know who the actor was. And to say something that is so patently untrue in order to justify what you did afterwards is cowardly, is weak.
Very interesting. He's saying that his dad, and if you hear the longer clip, he's saying, of course, Joe Biden knew who George Clooney was, A, because he's George Clooney, but B, because there had been this ongoing threat by Clooney not to attend the fundraiser, including 4 or 5 emails and exchanges just in the days leading up to the fundraiser, because he was so angry that Joe Biden wasn't going to enforce the arrest warrant from the ICC that Amal Clooney orchestrated working for the UN. You know, she's supposed to be this human rights lawyer. So she wanted to see Netanyahu arrested. She wanted Joe Biden to do what she said he had to do. And Biden wasn't doing it. And Hunter says George Clooney made this a big thing. He actually tried to use it as leverage, like his appearance at the fundraiser. Tried to use that as leverage to make him do the arrest of Netanyahu. So Hunter's overall point is, of course, he knew who George Clooney was. This is bullshit. And George Clooney just had his stupid star nose out of joint because his sweet Amal didn't get her way. Very interesting stuff.
It is really interesting. I mean, it's a completely different story, and it's one that's super newsy because it also, as you just outlined, involves the president of the United States being threatened by a donor and Hollywood celebrity over this arrest warrant for ostensibly an ally of the United States of America, somebody who Biden was aligning himself with. So it's a much more interesting story, a much more newsy story this way, and it makes you wonder who the source is in the Tapper book because it now sounds like it probably came from Clooney's camp, given that Clooney...
It's clearly George Clooney.
And Clooney, if he's being honest, has been around these lines, these meet and greet lines. It should have been more than a meet and greet because it was probably a smaller group if he was the big headliner in this fundraiser. But he knows that you have, Gary from Veep whispering in the president's ear, George Clooney. So if he leaked that, it's pretty interesting because he knows that if they're saying Mr. President George Clooney, they're not saying Mr. President, don't you know this is George Clooney? Yes. They're just kind of at the same time. Should you really have to say Mr. President George Clooney? Probably not. Maybe Biden had that very familiar vacant look in his eyes,
but I get that. But what Hunter seems to be saying here is that Clooney had a motive to lie. He was pissed at Joe Biden, and he had a motive on top of, just his eyes and ears and what he saw with Joe Biden to bring him down. He was pissed off about the Amal thing. And not only did he lie in his op-ed, but he lied when he obviously talked to Jake Tapper and maybe Alex Thompson in the working of that book. And honestly, it would have been valuable for Hunter to come out before now. I don't think he could have saved his father, but it's very interesting to hear him. He's obviously a smart man. He's articulate and he's smart. And you can hear him putting, his thoughts together in a persuasive way. It's probably less compelling when he uses it here in SOT 16, but I'll let you be the judge.
The only difference between crack cocaine and cocaine is sodium bicarbonate and water and heat, literally. That's it.
And those things are pretty much free if you go to like a science store.
This is free. You can go to your neighborhood convenience store and just get. Anyway, I don't want to tell people how to make crack cocaine, but it literally is a mayonnaise jar, cocaine, and baking soda.
How different is the experience?
It's vastly, vastly different. And like for real, I feel really reluctant to kind of have some euphoric discussion. I know you're not asking me to do that, but have some euphoric discussion about crack cocaine.
I think this might be kind of the opposite here.
Okay, no, it's the exact opposite. I'm saying I don't want to have the experience of some euphoric recall. That's how powerful crack cocaine is. Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably. People think of crack as being dirty. It's the exact opposite. When you make crack, what you're doing is you're burning off all the impurities so that it combines with the sodium bicarbonate, which makes it smokable. That's all.
I'm now sending you crack at tomorrow's after party. I think we've settled. We're done with the tequila. We're moving on to crack cocaine.
It's got to be clean, Megyn. So that's actually, it sounds like a good plan. Crack is the new Maha. That's where the public health conversation needs to go. I'm cribbing from Twitter again. This was so funny, and I wish I could give credit to whomever said this, but they were like, that was like watching LeBron James talk about basketball, listening to Hunter Biden talk about crack. And I will say, some of their conversation about addiction I found to be genuinely compelling and moving. And Hunter Biden is clearly very smart, and he has had a hell of a life, starting with that crazy car accident and all of the things that his family has been through. Awful, crazy stuff, wild stuff. But it is this is a really hot take, what the Democratic Party needs, in a way that reminds me of what, I know it's apples and oranges, but there is something here with Donald Trump coming down the golden escalator in 2015 and calling bullshit on everything that Jeb Bush and these establishment Republicans were saying in front of the public, and kind of hashing out, forcing them to confront the problems that had been brewing and had gone unaddressed. I mean, the 2012 Republican autopsy after Mitt Romney lost was basically a prescription of what not to do. But everyone here in DC thought it was exactly what you should do. And so Hunter Biden coming in and kind of, spearing some of the sacred cows in the Democratic Party, it actually might help jostle something better loose, as crazy as that sounds. It might be kind of, it's like crack. It's what the doctor ordered, Megyn.
Yeah, the problem is when you really delve into it, what he's criticizing is like people like Anita Dunn, who made $40 million off the Democrat Party. Hello, McFly. What have you been doing for your entire adult life? Do we have to talk about what was on that laptop and how he was just a grifter off of his dad's name? Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they're moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your own personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. OMG. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold extremely easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898 and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.